community center, government building, and many more. You no need for worry about plaster where you dey build with collapse block, because the kind way the machine take make the block fine go make you left the block natural one so. Make it so, wetin you dey wait for? Collapse brick, the sober way for build quick.
Hey, what's up?
Hello, brother.
Say the password. Help get your life on track.
Password?
Hands.
Face.
Space.
Surface.
Hand, face, space, surface.
Give me the password I need.
Password?
Hand, face, space, surface.
Stop. Say the password. Hand, face, space, surface. The password to help take back our world from Corona.
Hand, face, space, surface.
You are watching AYV Television.
Good evening, this is Primetime News on AYV Television and Radio. I am Elizabeth Momo. Let's start with tonight's headlines.
Reports of violence engulfs Koinadugu elections before and during polling.
Around the township, there is a calmness, but the political parties are raising tensions, that it's not actually reflecting, in the daily lives of the normal people living in Koinadugu. Since last night, we get in touch with the Secretary General to explain to us the side of their own story about the live firing. And he said that he was there, but he doesn't know who actually fired.
Attorney General and Minister of Justice delivers Sierra Leone's position on the Universal Periodic Review recommendations at the ongoing 48th regular session of the Human Rights Council.
In our decision-making process, in the addendum my government submitted to the UPI Secretariat, we reported that Sierra Leone accepted 216 recommendations and noted 58 recommendations.
And Child Rights Coalition Sierra Leone prays on government to reconsider their reservation on recommendations on FGM.
The coalition is, however, concerned that all the 50 recommendations that the government rejected affect children's rights. The 44 specific and 4 general recommendations on banning female genital mutilation, FGM, were rejected without qualification.
Now for the full news.
National Electoral Commission conducts 2 by-elections for Koinadugu District Council and Ward 155. While in the early hours of voting, there were skirmishes in and around certain polling centers which temporarily disrupted the voting process. What is the situation on the ground? Augusta Ethel Ture from Kabbalah reports from situations this afternoon.
2 by-elections were conducted in Koinadugu today. As this process unfolds, these are views we gauged from voters at different polling centers in Kabbalah.
Election atmosphere, security, yes, it is on. This day, there are only few stations where we see because I've been listening radio when they say like here we say with this right now na RC school here, and they talk say and damage one motoka.
Later in the day, me decide for count votes. The votes actually small pushcars were up, but police them and other observers where they allow people to vote yesterday, will make me vote later. Because during the pushcars,
the voting atmosphere is go well. We thank God the way they conduct it. We don't get too much face neither any kind of corruption.
Like this election, the election between the ordinary council election, but a big election. Election gets involved between the two parties there.
Like for me, I just come. They all made the place. I'm glad for the place. It's quiet. So for that, I have.
Several institutions, including civil society, British High Commission, and others, were on the ground to observe the by-election. Abdul Fatoma, Executive Officer, Campaign for Human Rights and Development International, was part of a group of civil society members to observe this process.
So far, around the township, there's a calmness, but the political parties are raising tensions, that it's not actually reflected, in the daily lives of the normal people living in Koinadugu. So that's the situation at the moment. APC is raising a concern that SLPP want to disrupt the process, and that some of their members has been beaten at some polling stations. And those areas that we don't have currently members to cover, we ask for evidence, and yet much has not been given to us to prove those concerns. The SLPP have not been putting any complaint to us. Since last night, we get in touch with the Secretary General to explain to us the side of their own story about the live firing. And he said that he was there, but he doesn't know who actually fired.
Within the early hours of voting, these were skirmishes in certain polling centers in Kabbalah. Inspector Abdurrahman Sankor, Media Officer, Sierra Leone Police Northeast Region, comments on the security situation.
So far, so good. Based on our security plans and operations, the Sierra Leone Police is on top of the situation. The reason being, we've provided the needed security for the conduct of the electioneering process. Well, you must expect one or two people not to conduct or abide according to the laws that are supposed to be expected. But that is the essence of the Sierra Leone Police. And professionally, we are able to restore sanity within seconds, and we are able to ensure personnel are deployed at the said place so that we continue to observe sanity. And so far, so good, sis. We've restored that sanity. Nothing came up adversely or negatively.
Mohamed Kone, Chairman, National Electoral Commission, is also on the ground. He earlier on made this statement whilst addressing voters and certain political leaders in the district.
You understand it? I don't from here I go to the SLPP office, I go one step. You understand it? If all the voters who don't vote, you understand? If you don't vote, you want for data, you pass the office, now stay the camp. If anything happens down there, we are a big. You are called the security. You are telling me leadership. Don't tell them call the security or let them call me. But nobody not go take the law in your hands. If you go take the law in your hand, let two men when they vote, who would they vote for? Yesterday they passed at this turn and they enjoy, right? Then they should say they are together. If you go through yourself, they hold you, they go put you in a jail. Not so they get for go pull you. Your duty and for make sure they will provide the logistics to make the atmosphere free and fair. When the votes down, the count, and announce the result.
Though provisional results have started tackling, but no clear winner has emerged so far. For AYV Primetime News in Kabbalah, Koinadugu.
Still on the elections in Koinadugu, the National Electoral Commission, in a press release on the conduct of the local council by-elections for the district chairperson and Ward 155, has stated that polling in all 300 polling stations went on in a relatively peaceful manner, and counting is currently taking place, after which election results will be tallied at the community center, Kabbalah Town, on Sunday, 3rd October, and provincial results will be announced therein. The press release noted that the final certified results will take place on Monday, 4th October, at the National Electoral Commission's headquarters, Tower Hill, Freetown. General and Minister of Justice Anthony Brewer has delivered Sierra Leone's position on the Universal Periodic Review recommendations at the ongoing 48th regular session of the Human Rights Council. The Attorney General disclosed that Sierra Leone received a total of 274 recommendations, and the government's conviction in strengthening and improving the human rights in Sierra Leone, the minister said, is not motivated by sentiment and optimism. Rather, it is rooted in government's commitment, resolve, capability, and wartime experience. Bokari Matea has more.
Sierra Leone is proving itself as a pace-setter in the field of human rights. A total of 274 recommendations were received by the government, and a consultative process to review and discuss these recommendations was made involving the IMC, the government's Interministerial Human Rights Committee, which has a UN official and civil society representation, and the Human Rights Commissions. According to the Attorney General and Minister of Justice, his consultative and transparent process helped in decision-making, which saw Sierra Leone accepting 216 recommendations.
Sierra Leone received a total of 274 recommendations. A consultative process to review these recommendations was commenced. The IMC, the government's Interministerial Human Rights Council, which has a UN official and civil society representation, and the Human Rights Commission as technical advisor, met and discussed the recommendations. This consultative and transparent process helped us in our decision-making process. In the addendum my government submitted to the UPI Secretariat, we reported that Sierra Leone accepted 216 recommendations and noted 58 recommendations. Although the number of accepted and noted recommendations remain unchanged, I wish to make the following corrections and clarifications. Recommendations 218, 257, and 267 that we previously accepted are now noted. We will seriously consider them in the context of our framework for deliberative decision-making and the wide national consultations, because they involve matters of deep and entrenched cultural practices.
A statement from the United Kingdom recognized the progress of Sierra Leone on human rights, but however shed light on the importance of the president signing the abolition of the death penalty bill into law, and also for the acceptance of the recommendation to end FGM.
The United Kingdom welcomes Sierra Leone's engagement with the UPR and its determination to make progress on human rights. We support the government's commitment to the development of a national human rights action plan and hope that this will lead to further progress. The UK reiterates its commitment to supporting Sierra Leone on advancing human rights and democracy. The UK is pleased that Sierra Leone fully supports our second recommendation and commends the vote of the Parliament to abolish the death penalty. This is an important step forward on democratic freedoms and rights in Sierra Leone, and we urge the President to sign the bill into law as soon as possible. While commending the current judicial reforms, we regret that Sierra Leone did not accept recommendations to end FGM. We are concerned that this does not support Sierra Leone's agenda for protecting women's rights, and we hope Sierra Leone will reconsider our recommendation and join the global movement to end FGM.
Alfonso Sbani from the International Service for Human Rights called on more government's commitment to protecting human rights defenders.
We also commend the effort and openness of the government towards better legislative protection of defenders in the country since 2016. However, we remain concerned by the continued criminalization and repression by law enforcement agencies of defenders opposing the agribusiness group Soft Finland in the Malen Chido. On 25th January 2019, two land right defenders, Mohammed and Sumana and Mustafa, were shot dead during clashes between members of the local community and security forces deployed to protect the palm oil plantation of Suffering Group. We commend the government decision to discontinue protection of 19 Malua members on 9 December 2020. A draft bill on the protection of human rights defenders was jointly presented to the Attorney General and Minister of Justice in March 2017 by the Human Rights Commission of Sierra Leone and Human Rights Defenders Network Sierra Leone. To date, the draft bill is yet to be discussed at cabinet level to pave the way for its enactment by Parliament.
The United Nations member states commended Sierra Leone for the Hands of Our Girls initiative, the abolition of the death penalty, abolition of the criminal libel law, promoting education, addressing child trafficking, taking measures to combat COVID-19, and advancing gender discrimination and equity, amongst others. And expect Sierra Leone to implement the 216 recommendations and consider the 58 noted recommendations. The Human Rights Council formally adopted Sierra Leone's third cycle Universal Periodic Review Outcome Report by consensus. Bokari Matia, AYV News, Freetown.
National Chairperson for Child Rights Coalition Sierra Leone, Boy Jenejalo, has recommended for government to reconsider the reservation on recommendations in FGM. She made this call during the coalition's press conference at Atlantic Hotel in Freetown. Our reporter Michael John Fofana has more.
It could be recalled that the government of Sierra Leone accepted 224 recommendations out of 274 with regards to the recommendations of the report of the working group on the Universal Periodic Review. Child Rights Coalition welcomed the government on this acceptance, but the coalition is however concerned that all other 50 recommendations that the government rejected affect child's rights.
The coalition welcomes the government of Sierra Leone's acceptance of 224 recommendations out of the 274 recommendations profiled, covering all areas of concern for the Universal Periodic Review process, including access to justice, right to education, right to adequate standard of living, and a right to health. The coalition is, however, concerned that all the 50 recommendations that the government rejected affect children's rights. The 44 specific and 4 general recommendations on banning female genital mutilation, FGM, were rejected without qualification. We are gravely concerned that current measures to address the human rights concerns of FGM are grossly inadequate to prohibit child FGM. Passing a legislation on protecting human rights defenders and repealing Part 3 of the Public Order Act are the 2 remaining recommendations that the government noted. It is our view that rejecting these 2 recommendations also increases the vulnerability of child rights defenders and child rights advocates to human rights abuses and further narrow the civic space for them.
She continued that the coalition therefore recommends that governments reconsider their reservation on recommendations on FGM.
The coalition further urges the government to ratify the optional protocol to the Convention on the Rights of the Child on a communications procedure, acknowledging the legal empowerment of child survivors by giving them the capacity to take legal action on their own with child-friendly rules of procedure. To pass a more comprehensive amended child rights bill that addresses all inconsistencies and discriminatory clauses. To address child labor in apprenticeship, domestic labor, street trading, alcohol manufacturing companies, and in the agricultural sector. And lastly, to fully implement the radical inclusion policy to ensure that pregnant girls have unhindered access to school.
Michael John Fofana, AYV News in Freetown.
A Swedish organization called FVBU has officially commissioned and handed over a preschool in Paloko, Waterloo in the Western Area Rural District. According to the coordinator of FVBU, Nia Lindstrom, this is to alleviate the needs of poor parents in that part of the country, and that plans are on the way to construct primary and secondary school in the land that they had already bought. Ransalubi Metska reports.
The aim of this Swedish organization called FVBU is to increase equitable access to education and improve learning outcomes for children in the Paloko community in Waterloo in the Western Area Rural Districts. The coordinator for FVBU in Sweden, Nia Lindström, say this preschool being constructed will help to improve learning outcomes and expand early childhood development opportunities, especially for young children, with a focus on the most vulnerable children in that community.
An opening of a new preschool. The Swedish organization called FVBU have built and started this preschool here at this land, and we also bought this land to be able to help the community to educate the children. We are an organization. Our organization means that we care for the upbringing of children and youth. That is the letters in Swedish that will say that. So what we want to achieve here in this community, since we got the request, it was so many children here far away to school, we decided to operate here to buy the land and build the school. The preschool we start with, but our future plans, very soon future plans, is also behind the preschool here, build a primary school as well. And if God willing, there is also will be space here for a secondary school.
The school quality assurance officer of the Ministry of Basic Education in the Western Area Rural District, Reverend Francis Jenkins, thanked FVBU for these innovative strides taken in ensuring that they reach out to the less privileged in that deep part of Waterloo, as this is in line with President Bio's vision of the free quality education and radical inclusion for all.
One thing we could see, we want to tell the FVBU, Boku thank you. You know why? Because Sierra Leonean picking them, the less privileged, less fortunate, not them they can for help. And education for all, now the flagship program for the president.
A parent who was part of the ceremony thanked this Swedish organization for alleviating the stress of taking their children to far distant schools.
We feel fine because of from all the decline we pass off and not in school no day. Now we pick them, they don't begin for Kana school, we don't welcome and they feel fine. Right. Let God bless me, let God make now able to go before.
This preschool, well furnished with modern facilities, will offer an opportunity for poor parents to send their kids to pre-primary school at no cost. Ransford Lubimetska, AYV News.
In enhancing capacity of actors in the agriculture sector, Solidaridad and partners have conducted a day training on inclusive business model that emphasized the need for responsive investment in agriculture, forestry and food system in Sierra Leone. The workshop targeted 25 participants from across the agricultural sector. Rana Jomorovia has more on the story.
The capacity training for key actors in the agriculture sector is in response to the inclusive business model the Food and Agriculture Organization FAO is intending to implement at country level to enhance responsive investment in agriculture. Solidaridad, working with Landiza, is implementing the project with a training of 25 participants drawn from the private sector and MBAs. And Ukojo Morrison, technical advisor for Solidaridad, highlights the importance of such training.
To discuss and dialogue different models and learn from that. And through this, we hope that we can build the capacity of the stakeholders in the principles that the area hopes to achieve. This is really not new. It's more of a complementary approach where companies voluntarily want to ensure sustainability within their systems. And the principles are clear, ranging from trying to prevent poverty, to gender equality, protection of the environment, and the protection of labor and human resources. It's an add-on towards more sustainable production within these systems.
Addressing participants, Chief Agriculture Officer Amar Aidara Sharif commended the progress made by FAO and its implementing partners to work with private sector, noting it has ignited responsible corporate practices that are related to agricultural investment that offer helpful framework that will enhance food security while reducing poverty and promoting economic development. But how significant is the training to sector players in the agri sector? Some of them had this to say.
The event has been a shared learning event with other agri-businesses that are operating in Sierra Leone. And I do believe that we've learned a lot in terms of looking at our standards and whatever principles that we've been complying to. We are a forestry company, and so we are in compliance with FSC, Paramount, and other principles, and as well as some national and international standards.
For instance, no investor is not going to, any investor is not going to force people to give their land if they are not willing to do it, or without proper negotiations. It's not, we learned that it's not because I have a chief, you go to be forced before go to the landowner. No. If you're going to come to me, instance, I send it to them, from there they'll come, then and they will come to have things on the table.
Guidelines for governance of land. And we have been in this engagement for quite over a long period of time. It is very interesting, very educative, and very interactive, because we have learned best practices to manage our natural resources. And I'm from the Ministry of Agriculture. We know agriculture is land-based.
It is believed that participants will use the principle that will help attract more investment in the agri sector. Ronald Jumuruvia, AYV News, Freetown.
Now, Sierra Leone has joined the rest of the world to celebrate the United Nations International Day of Older Persons on the 1st October 2021 with the theme Digital Equity for All Ages. In a program organized by Community Link Salon at Tennis Club Hill Station to celebrate the aged, guest speaker at the ceremony, Paul Soba Massakoy, said older persons in Sierra Leone need good policies, love, respect, dignity, proper health care, access to transportation, and not neglecting regular nutritious meals. Alba George Sharif has more.
The United Nations International Day of Older Persons is celebrated on the 1st of October every year to raise awareness about the elderly and to maintain their dignity. Community Links Salon is a charity that focuses on projects that help uplift disadvantaged children and their families and provide assistance and care for elderly people in Sierra Leone. In a program organized by Community Link Salon at the Hill Station Tennis Club to celebrate the aged, guest speaker at the ceremony, Paul Soba Masako, said old persons in Sierra Leone can be referred to as vulnerable adults because they are discriminated.
They need people that will look after them. And people that will look after them. We don't forget processes, policies in place where government don't approve that this country, you don't forget certain policies or processes that are named and cabinet. For let them discuss and they can have parliament for let them approve them. Me don't know too much of the social services. But we get there, maybe we will not get it. If we get them, we don't train the people, the beginning, we put people that will look after them, people there, maybe we will not get it. If we not get them, why? When we will get it? Because them people here, we consider them vulnerable adults. We don't call them elderly people or old people. So Monday, just because that person, that elderly mama, they are like Catholic, they're not going to come. So discrimination and prejudice for them. We don't teach them what discrimination and prejudice. No. We don't check how many times we don't discriminate against elderly people in this country.
Brenda Ford Farmer is the welfare officer at the King George VI Memorial Home. In a statement at the event, she said Community Link Salon has been very helpful in assisting older persons in Sierra Leone, but questioned the theme for this year's United Nations International Day of Older Persons, Digital Equity for All Ages.
Now that kind of thing here we want, or we just say, you know, we accept that kind of thing there. Tell me too. Then when we are young boy and young girl, they get problem for access the internet. Much more so, people that were on past 60. It's not easy. Yes, it brings development. It makes you learn the cool, but you don't think say you get some Wi-Fi and data before you go access the internet.
During the event, Hannah Boema, founder of the Widows, an advocacy organization for vulnerable widows in Sierra Leone, said most of her members are older persons and that they need care. Reading a statement from the founder of Community Link Salon, Atharina Johnson, Aisha Rena read that we have a responsibility to help older persons realize their human rights and live in dignity. Albert George Sheriff, AYV News, Freetown.
Information and Trade Ministers have held an engagement with Paramount chiefs, CSOs and citizens in Makeni to discuss on the operations of government and their ministries. Abubakar Kamara reports.
That was the traditional play hundreds of traders used to welcome information and trade ministers in Makeni, north of Sierra Leone. Speaking at the Makeni City Council Hall, the Information and Communications Minister, Mohamed Rahman Soare, said the responsibility of the ministry is to bridge the gap between government and citizens. Soare said,
Now, for now, we bridge the communications gap between citizens and government. And what we want to feel we take our back to government. So we made the role and the senior. Made the president repeat a session between the way we talk, me and the one person we get. We tell you about that. Yeah, what's the government do? They understand waiting the money. Who can listen to that? Don't go tell the president. They will use that for changing policy or for taking particular decisions for correcting.
Minister of Trade and Industry, Honorable Dr. Edward Hinga Sande, engaged citizens on what his ministry has been doing to curtail COVID-19 pandemic and inflation in the country.
COVID is impacting a number of issues around businesses. So you see some of the conversations we held was about the challenges which businesses are facing with cross-border trade and some other issues which relate to the disadvantaging of our local businesses by importers. And I think the engagements and the conversations that went through were actually very, very clear what as a government we're planning to do to deal with a number of those issues.
The delay of Traders Union elections in Bombali district was one among the issues raised during the engagement.
So this campaign, I want to talk to the president. If you can hold on boss, go to the minister. So tell us here, you have in office, you thank God, you have to zero act.
The Trade Ministry plays a key role.
We realized that because of COVID, a couple of traders union groups across the country have not been able to change their executives, and when you go around the provinces, a lot of that comes out. Even our Sierra Leone Chamber of Commerce has got an executive that's so overdue, but we are trying to work closely with them.
AYV Regional News, I am Abubakar Kamara from Makeni.
The higher education in sub-Saharan and integrated research into the utilities have engaged students from the engineering department at Frobe College on a public lecture series on water and sanitation and its importance to the society. Our reporter Sheku Mohammed Sela has more.
Getting clean water and sanitation help one to avoid countless disease, and World Health Organization has proved that nearly 20% of the people that die is as a result of safe and poor sanitation. Ibrahim Ba, the head of planning and research for the Guma Valley Water Company, said the company is planning to have a 24-hour pipe running water in the country.
So that we can have universal access by 2028. And then what are our plans as a company to have a 247 water supply system by 2050? We have a dilapidated network, we have a very limited network size, we have long spaghetti connections, which are actually affecting the leakage, affecting us in terms of leakages. A lot of other problems actually, which as I highlighted in the presentation. So water supply provision is an engineering activity. So our major technical staff actually, engineers, civil, mechanical, and electrical engineers. Over the years, we've been recruiting a lot of students from the university, either through internship programs, from this new project itself, African Catalyst, and from the faculties. So yeah, so we expect to attract the good ones, the brightest, to come and help us figure out solutions, and of course solve problems in the future. That's what we're producing from our 3 major treatment plants. However, we are losing about 40% of this. So if you do the maths, around 50 is what really is going to consumers.
Some of the students said that they have learned a great lot about the challenges of the company and how to solve some of them.
I think this has been very good because coming from having a mechanical background, this is new and this has been very good. I have learned about what Guma Valley does, their challenges, their goals, and how as a people we can help them in achieving their goals by safeguarding our environment. I think so, yes. As I said, I'm from the mechanical field, but then I think so. So if in the future I have to work with civil engineers, I think this has been good, yes.
On our attachment, we had to investigate about this lead battery, the disposal, safe disposal of these batteries. We did a lot of traveling, what a wonderful experience. We traveled to the provinces, we traveled to the sites because we have to see the operations of these grids because the establishment in grids and the problem they have is this battery.
Drinking unsafe water impairs health through illness such as diarrhea and cholera. Sheikh Mohammed Saleh, AYV News, Freetown.
This is Primetime News on AYV Television and Radio. Stay tuned for more stories after the break.
Looking for a place to get quality education but don't know how or where? Canadian College of Modern Technology, situated at 1 Silicon Hills, Mile 91, opposite former Camp Charlie, is the right place for you. Canadian College of Modern Technology, an affiliate of Jalai University, is a fully accredited college with a Tertiary Education Commission, TEC, and a National Commission for Technical, Vocational, and Other Academic Awards, NCTVA. We provide world-class tertiary education in computer science, business administration, mass communication, business information technology, Microsoft Server Administration, networking, database administration, building and construction, and other professional courses. Apart from its conducive environment, which makes it suitable for learning, Canadian College of Modern Technology is proud of its experienced local and international staffs. Come and experience a transformational learning environment, fully equipped with CCTV cameras, a world-class electronic library with the latest iMac computers for collaborative learning and research, and access to high-speed internet service throughout the campus. And guess what? Canadian College of Modern Technology is the first college in Sierra Leone to operate the first educational purpose-only television and radio station for its mass communication students. Come and be part of this this historic experience, we have reserved a space for you. You want to know more? CCMC provides 24 hours electricity from a solar harvest power supply system with a backup generator. This highly secure campus also have a canteen, student hostels with clean pipe-borne water. Canadian College offers many more amenities for our students to help make learning a good experience. For more information, contact us on these numbers: 079-630-407 or 099-140-208. If you want to succeed, Canadian College will exceed your expectations. Canadian College of Modern Technology, a place where career begins.
Welcome back. I am Elizabeth Momo and this is AYV's Primetime News. Let's take more stories. The Ministry of Local Government has held a two-day induction and orientation ceremony for 26 newly elected Paramount chiefs at Mabema Town District Council Hall, Cambia District, northwest of Sierra Leone. Well, the country's Minister of Local Government, Tambalamina, says it is important to organize such programs for Paramount chiefs to enhance good governance in local council administration. Ransom McLean witnessed the event in our reports.
The induction and orientation for 26 newly elected Paramount chiefs session was centered on restoring stability, transparency, accountability, and resilience of local administration for sustainable development in Sierra Leone. Speaking on the importance of the ceremony, Minister of Local Government and Rural Development Tamba Lamina says the ministry has noted that the Chieftaincy Act has been long overdue and needs to be reviewed. He calls on the newly elected Paramount chief that they need to some of the things being highlighted into consideration.
Some of these chiefs have been in post for about a year. The importance of this program is that it will enable experience sharing amongst Paramount chiefs who have been newly elected, but also for critical stakeholders in local governance to explain their functions and their responsibilities to the new Paramount chiefs so that they will have a good start in chieftaincy. The overall aim is actually in compliance or in consonance with His Excellency the President's vision of deepening decentralization but also strengthening chieftaincy as one of the governance units in the whole architecture of governance in the nation. And we believe that if you have a good foundation and an understanding of what the critical issues are and what your responsibilities are.
The National Chairman of Council of Paramount Chiefs in Sierra Leone, Honorable PC Sheku Fasuluku Suseyama III from Kono, said among the three structures under the 2009 Chieftaincy Act of Sierra Leone, land disputes among families has been a burning issue and that needs to be addressed for them as leaders.
This is a human rights expert, if I should say so. Well, rights have to be followed by responsibilities, or responsibilities have to be followed by rights. So if you are a newly elected Paramount chief, you think you have all the rights, it's our time for you to know that you also have responsibilities to yourself, to the chiefdom, and to the country. It's not all size fit all, no. There are rules, there are statutes. As Paramount chiefs, we have 3 to 4 functions according to the 2009 Chieftaincy Act. If I should mention them briefly, one is being the custodian of tradition and custom. You will be responsible for collection of legal tax. You are also the interface between the community, civil society and government in respect of development, and you are also responsible for the restoration of peace and quietness in the community.
One of the newly elected Paramount chiefs, Woki Jonjo Masakoi, speaks on what they've learned so far from the meeting.
You see, our people, boundary disputes are all in chiefdoms, but our people want, since we have been elected this recent time, they want us to solve that problem, which is not easy. But today we have learned that we have to coexist with other chiefdoms, because that was what was happening. There are intermarriages, so we cannot just come and solve those problems overnight. So we have to talk to them for them to understand that they should live with other people. It is obvious that there should be a demarcation to every chiefdom.
It was revealed that the 26 newly elected Paramount chief, after being inducted from the local government ministry, they will surely be presented to the president of Sierra Leone. Ransford McLean, AYV News, Freetown.
Family People has certified over 10 secondary and primary school teachers after completing the American Sign Language training that will help them to communicate with pupils who are speech and ear impaired. Our reporter Sheku Mohammed Silla has more.
Sign language is extremely an important communication tool for many physical challenged people, especially the deaf, as it provides confidence for them and the community they live within. Adia Tudelo, Director of Operations for One Family People, expressed the need for every schools in the country to have teachers that can communicate through sign language.
This person is signing. It has style. So there are different ways people sign. There's no unified ways of sign language. So we need to understand that and respect it just as English and any other language. And sign language is very important because it's a language of people who cannot speak. So which means for us to be able to communicate with them, for us to be able to work with them and include them in their society, we need to learn their language. The same way we are learning English, the same way we are learning other languages, including our local languages. In other countries, they have developed their own local sign languages.
The Deputy Minister of Social Welfare, Mohammed Aji Keller, said there is every need to support the deaf and the fight cannot be won without the help of the people in our community.
We've spoken quite a lot about sign language. Sign language should be a right for everybody. Why are we not popularizing this in our schools? Years back, we attempted, some of us attempted. But like my colleague was saying over there, we are not very good at languages. So sign language was not one of those that we fancied very much. But we needed to actually communicate with our friends at the time. We developed ours. We can also develop one within the Mano River Union because we communicate together. But we also want, as a ministry, to advocate for a deaf culture in this country. A culture that does not discriminate against deaf people. I was challenged at one point when I was in a disability conference in Portugal a couple of years back. And the taxi guy that took me to the conference center was actually deaf. So I was wondering, speaking to me in sign language, but knows very clearly where I was going because he was actually employed to be taking people. For me, the question then is, and I've always asked this question, how accessible is our accessibility for people living with disabilities, particularly those who have hard of hearing? Can I throw a challenge here? When we slowly start advocating for deaf people to have driving license in Sierra Leone?
One of the awardees speaks on the importance of the training.
In sign language, this means leave no one behind. And in Sierra Leone, for far too long, children with disabilities have been left behind in so many areas, particularly in the area of education. And as a teacher, I hope that through American Sign Language, I'll be able to change the narrative in the classroom to promote inclusivity and social justice.
The use of sign language in the classroom makes it easier for the deaf children to grasp difficult concepts such as math, words, or social studies. Sheikh Mohammed Saleh, AYV News, Freetown.
And now in sports, the head coach of the national football team, Leone Stars, John Kister, has said the objective of the 3 friendly matches against South Sudan, the Gambia and Morocco is part of the country's preparation to scout for talented players that will make the squad for Cameroon. Coach Kister was speaking during a press conference organized by AfriCell Sierra Leone together with the Sierra Leone Football Association at the AfriCell American Corner, Bathurst Street in Freetown. Russell McLean, a sports reporter, witnessed the news conference and now reports.
Parts of preparation of the national football team Leone Stars for next year's Africa Cup of Nations tournament in Cameroon, AfriCell Sierra Leone and the Sierra Leone Football Association has held a press conference to update journalists on the upcoming friendly matches. The head coach of the national football team Leone stars John Kister says these 3 friendly matches the country will play against South Sudan, Gambia and Morocco, result is not important, but identification of better players is key, and also to work on the personnel they have at the moment.
Identify more players, especially around our needs in the national team, where we have real issues. These are the main objectives of our friendly matches. And again, it gives us an idea around the home-based players, like IBK just mentioned, that we're taking along as well, just to know where they are in terms of their levels. Very important. So what we've tried to do as a technical team is manage to get 20-odd foreign-based players, 20-odd foreign-based players that will report in Morocco. Again, there's 1 or 2 or 3 concerns around that group. It's good that we bring it out. Yaya Kalong, Genoa, very, very interested in coming and represent Sicily. Or again, around it's got immigration issues. So that's going to make it unavailable. Again, that is what it is, but we wish you good luck in that.
Vice President 1 for the Sierra Leone Football Association, Harold Natch Johnson, said, as Football Association, their primary responsibility is to ensure football play across the country, adding that as an executive, they will ensure the team is well represented in the tournaments.
Preparation to qualify for the Nations Cup is one step, and preparation is another giant step. That's the most difficult aspect of going to the AFCON. Your boys and coaches have to be mentally fit, mentally stable. They have to find themselves in an environment, a conducive environment, where they can be self-confident that they can go to places. And I also, before Dr. Swale will take the podium, I also want to thank the government of Sierra Leone, by extension, the National Sports Authority and the Ministry of Sports for providing the needed funds, even when it seemed that we are not qualifying for these tournaments.
Chief Corporate Affairs Manager of AfriCell Sierra Leone, Joe Abbas Bangora, highlighted that they are committed to meet all agreements signed in the Memorandum of Understanding between them and the Sierra Leone Football Association.
Over the company's headquarters to say again, Easter and government, they are behind you, we are behind the team. 100% to be able to make sure whatever is enshrined in the MOU that we signed, AfriCell meets those ones, to the full, including direct cash injection, financing the production and sale and distribution of the replica jersey, which some of us are putting on here this morning.
It was revealed during the press conference by the Deputy Executive Director of the National Sports Authority, Dr. Abdulrahman Sware, that 47-man delegation will make the trip. Already 11 home-based players and 20 foreign-based players will be part of the 10-day trip to Morocco. Ransford McLean, AYV Sports Freetown.
Alright, that's the end of Primetime News tonight. For more stories, visit our website on www.ayvnews.com. If you have any comments on the news, please send an email to info@ayvnews.com. I am Elizabeth Momo. Thanks for watching and listening.
You're watching AYV Television.